Hello, everyone, and welcome to Digital Dialogues powered by CXO Digital Paths. Today, we have a corporate leader and senior executive, Mr. Rajiv Bhatia, who is the president and country head at Analytix Business Solutions Private Limited, an outsourcing organization specializing in providing technology enabled and value driven solutions. Thank you, Mr. Rajiv, to be here, part of this conversation and dialogue with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm honored.
So, starting with the interaction, Mr. Rajiv, as per your perspective, what will be the key hiring priorities for the technology companies in 2023 and beyond?
Yes, I think that's a very relevant question. I personally feel that, with so much intervention and usage of AI in our life nowadays, I think one key thing that, and I'm talking purely from our experience, that we're trying to imagine a world, what will happen even 2 years, 3 years from now across the work that we do, and how much AI will sort of, re-engineer that, fashion that, and what are some of the tasks and activities which will probably go redundant. So what we are thinking today is, in terms of hiring activities, we'll have an eye on the future as to how in a couple of years' time, some of our activities will undergo a change. So the person that is being tried to be sort of onboarded or so, and the person that the kind of talent that we're looking, the fact is that they should be aware of AI and all the all the relevant tools that are going to change the way we look at work and the way we work. So in terms of that, we will be very, very keenly seeing whether the employee hired is aware of all those changes that will probably happen in a couple of years or not. I think also the quality of hire will be probably even more important rather than the quantity. In the past, we've often looked at bulk hiring and things like that, but I think the quality of hire will be very important. The employee experience will be very important. And I think we always talk about this labor hoarding, reskilling and upskilling. By labor hoarding, what we mean is retention of our key talent. Because in such a tight labor market, the intention would be to kind of ensure that you are able to hold on to your critical resources or so. So even from a hiring perspective, the focus would be somebody who is in with us for a long haul, not necessarily a small, small duration kind of a thing or so. And finally, I think there would be a deeper sort of integration of diversity, inclusion, belongingness and equity, somebody's feeling of belongingness to the company or so. I think that will probably be even more relevant. So those are some of the things that I feel will be, the hallmarks of future hiring.
Okay. And the two key points which you mentioned, experience and skill sets, which is there. So I would say the millennials or the prior generation need to upskill them, and the Gen Zs who are getting included in the workforce need to ensure that they are ready enough. But with these three sets of generations, there's a lot which goes. So how can companies successfully bridge this generational divide in the coming years?
Yes, I think it's often starts with us versus them. I mean, even somebody like me, when we hire somebody who we call as a millennial, my ability to manage him will directly depend on how much I can think like him. So a few strategies or a few things that we're doing, and I don't necessarily say that everybody would be doing that, they would be having, but we have a very conscious thought process there. I think what we're doing is that have cross-functional teams, have teams which have both the people with the older generation, people who've got experience, people who've got the expertise, been there, done that all and things like that, and also have people with the, the millennial mindset, who've got this flair of innovation, flair of doing things quickly enough or so. So if you combine the two, and a little bit of mentoring and reverse mentoring happens both ways. And I say reverse mentoring because if I'm a part of a project where there's somebody who's 30 years my junior, I have to match up to his speed and style also, and that person will gain from my experience also. So what we will probably do is we will make project teams which have both experience as well as the new generation workforce as well, so that there's a combination of both and we get advantage of both of so. I think what we'll also do is we will reinforce, and companies can reinforce, that differences do matter and differences are welcome. In the past, what has happened is companies, whenever there's a onset of new technology or a new way of thinking or so, very often we try and deny it. This, what we'll do now is that we'll try and see that in any team launch or any product launch for that matter, we will re-emphasize the fact that differences matter and differences are well, accepted and welcome also. So that, that will ensure that, none of the two, what you call as generations, feel alienated with it or so. And lastly, there is a mentoring or a buddy system. What we've done it very successfully in our company is that in each team, we try to have a buddy, someone who can help out, the new generation as well. And the reverse is also possible, where we'll have probably the newest joiner of the team also, probably teach the latest tools and applications and those kind of things to the older members of the team or so. Finally, I think if we reinforce this message to everybody in the company that have a shared sense of purpose, we are all in it together. If we don't do it, somebody else will do it better than us, and then we'll be left behind or so. So an overall message, having a multi-generation project team and having buddy system will probably, I think those will be some of the strategies that I think the companies will look at.
Sure. And very well said, Mr. Rajiv. I think initially it was that change was being celebrated. Now it's the difference which needs to be celebrated, be it of age or any other perspective of change. It needs to be accepted, and very well accepted, I would say, because that's the key to success nowadays for organization. And it's great to see all these initiatives that you are taking within your organization. And continuing with this, there comes the cultural change also, which needs a requirement. There are certain initiatives like buddy system, which you mentioned, which is definitely a way towards it. But what are some of the other cultural changes that you think that tech companies must embrace for the workforce engagement?
I think some were imposed upon us, but now they are a part of life. Remote working, hybrid working, is something which is suddenly I look out and see that half of my team is not there, but then I realize that I'm getting all my emails in time, I'm getting all the projects being delivered in time. So that's a reality that we have to accept. So hybrid working is there to stay. So the sooner I realize that, for me, the productivity and the quality of work matters rather than the physical presence. So I may not have the person around, but if I'm getting my work done and I'm, getting it done properly enough, then that's enough for me. I think what will also probably happen is that previously we had a mindset of let's get the work done rather than have a reward for innovative thinking, rather than have a reward for let's do a different way of doing things. Let's ensure that there's efficiency, effectiveness, and so if we encourage that mindset, so one of the cultural change that companies will have to do is that if somebody comes with an innovation, it's almost like having your incubation centers within the company or so.
That's great and very valid point, I must say, Mr. Rajiv. But coming to this hybrid one, now organizations have started calling the employees back on the within the office premises, and some initiatives are being taken care, be it like slowly they're increasing the frequency, or there are many industries which have already asked the full-fledged workforce 100% to come within the in their office premises and report daily. So what do you think this hybrid working system will see in 2023, or say in the next 2024?
I think it depends in terms of, I think there'll be a hybrid of the hybrid also, in the sense that wherever you need closer interaction, wherever you need, a lot of interdependence between the workers or so, probably there'll be a greater emphasis of, having people come and work along with a colleague or an office. I think let's not forget the fact that man is by nature a social animal. I mean, for 2 years we were all working from home, and we didn't really grow, in the sense that, we've not done any interaction. If there's an issue, if there's a problem, you've not had anybody to talk to also, other than your normal Teams call and things like that. So what we are probably thinking is, or what we have started in some of the departments, is 3:2 model. You come 3 days a week and you work from home 2 days a week or so. And the intention is that you must have human interaction. So let's say 50% of the team will come, 3 days a week or so, the remaining on the other 2 days or so. The idea is that we ensure that there is interaction across the board, there is learning across the board.
Definitely. And well said. Human interaction is something which initiates a lot of personal development aspects also when a person is working in an organization. And this holds true for everyone, be it a tenured person within the organization, or even a new person who needs to ensure and absorb the vibe of the organization to understand the culture. But with all these aspects, the hybrid working culture, the detachment, or say forced collaboration that people are making for the organization, we've also seen a trend of quiet quitting. So how can businesses deal with this new trend which is coming into the market from employees?
See, quiet quitting is actually, according to me, it's actually a pain, in the sense that you have an employee working in the organization, and yet, I mean, they're just coming and doing their job, and probably they're doing the minimum requirements. They're putting no more time or effort other than what is absolutely necessary or so. And it actually affects a company's resources a lot more, because there's so much more that you can get out of that employee or so. I think first thing, if you allow your workers to have a greater say, a greater autonomy, and why not? I mean, as I said, they are the front soldiers. They are the persons who are actually doing all the work or so. We are basically just managing them. We are managing those knowledge workers, so to speak. So if you allow them that greater autonomy, allow them to say, how can you make this better, and get their suggestions. See, it is easy for me to chair a meeting where I say quality has to be improved or so. But if it comes from them, it will be much more hands-on. It will be much more informed. They know exactly as to where they're committing the mistakes or how quality can be improved. And if there's something which needs to be facilitated, then I'm there to help them. But allow them to have a sense of autonomy and a say in how the work processes can be altered to make it better. I think also what is important is create a sense of purpose in them. That way they feel that if they're contributing to the growth and the value of the organization, then they can have a piece of it. So create that sense of purpose that they are doing it. There's end of the day, it's not that somebody will benefit at their expense, they'll also benefit. So create that sense of purpose into their mind. The third is, I think quiet quitting usually happens where people feel undervalued. So if you create that sense of employee engagement in them, have frequent town halls where you inform which way the company is going. So you have an informed view of, from a work side, what is happening, from a recognition side, what is happening. So if you close the loop in terms of their suggestion, and say, this is what we did after listening to you. I mean, if you don't close it, then there's no point of talking to them. So
True.
I think those are some of the ways that we can ensure that you kind of reduce the quiet quitting element of it. See, one thing I'll definitely say, that in every organization, we have the star performers and we also have the steady eddies, what we call them. People who are steady, they do their job and they go. So if everybody is a star performer, then how do you distinguish and how do um, how do you reward? But our intention is that even the steady eddies do much more than what they're expected to do, and that is only possible if you make them feel valued.
Definitely, Mr. Rajiv. I think having an engagement program in place and then an acknowledgement program makes them motivated, because then they understand that yes, whatever contribution they have made is actually being acknowledged and it's been recognized also.
That's
And
right.
then from a suggestion point of view, closing the loop from a suggestion to an actual action being taken by the organization, again, makes them heard in both. So it's a professional and a personal, or say the personal development aspects, where both needs to be taken at an equal aspect. And it's great to see the initiatives that you are taking place within the organization. And so going to one of the initial questions, where we mentioned that, what are the hiring priorities, and you mentioned about, the diversion, the difference which needs to be acknowledged and implemented when we are hiring. But when it comes to, in terms of, any change that you think that the hiring process for the technology related talent needs to be done, so what's your input on that aspect?
I think it'll be a lot more data driven from here on. I mean, see, it's as much a choice for the candidate to choose the company that he's joining, uh, as well as the company which is choosing to pick up somebody or so. So I think to reduce the element of to reduce the element of failure on both sides, there'll be a lot of AI, there'll be a lot of data driven hiring that will happen. Try and use that. We don't really see, the attention span has actually gone very, very less. If I'm applying to a company, if I don't listen from them, if I don't hear from them in the next week or so, and I'm talking about the mindset of a millennial, there are 5 other companies which are there in the same space. So if we have streamlined operations, I sent in my CV, somebody acknowledges it, somebody says we schedule an interview, and then you don't take ages for scheduling that interview. So it's all about even the experience for the person who's not even yet your employee. So he'll say, yes, I applied at this company. Somebody gave me an acknowledgement. Somebody reached out to me. They scheduled an interview. They gave me a feedback in terms of where I was probably missing. What is it that I need to do more, kind of a thing or so. So that next time when he comes back with that particular, set of skills that he was supposed to have, he still chooses his company because he says that the first experience was very good. I mean, I have been part of interviews myself in my 36-year-old career, where I was sitting for hours in the, maybe in the boardroom and waiting for somebody to come in, and there was senior positions, but the experience itself was putting me off so much that I ended up, telling the senior person or so that maybe we could have coordinated this better or so. So I think definitely a lot of data will be used. Definitely a lot of HR artificial intelligence will be used or so. I personally feel that today the talent war is so much that if you end up making a wrong hire, because you believe that skills are all that matter, his experience is all that matter, but he could be a difficult person. So there'll be a lot more predictability which will be tried to be estimated. Somebody has left the company is probably in a year, 2 years time or so. What are some of the reasons? So it's traditional, but if you try and use AI to some extent, then maybe we can try and ensure that we don't end up taking somebody who's a disaster. So
True. And it's really impressive how you quoted the example of usage of AI and data and using predictive analysis, even in your hiring process, as well as I would say the culture building, the formation of the team. Because this is something which maybe not initially was being thought of when these two technologies entered the market space, that how it will also be changing the overall cultural landscape of an organization. And if you would like to say, quote an example when it comes to the cultural building of an organization, the part of predictive analysis and AI, although you already mentioned it's about the team, but if you have already experimented such an aspect within the organization of formation a team where you handpicked basis the analytics result, so how did it went through?
So I think across the board, what we found is, and by using some of these tools or so, and as I said, predictive indexing is also is one of the tools which kind of tries to predict whether the person that you're booking will, as they say, fit in and stand out. He'll fit into the
Mhm.
culture of the team and yet stand out, kind of a thing or so. I think, and purely from an example perspective, uh, we were hiring for somebody, in information security, and that's a information security head or so. And we got many candidates who were extremely good in terms of their knowledge, and they knew about the latest tools and techniques of information security or so. But because we have a multi vertical business, uh, this person or this leader had to deal with a lot of different business leaders. All of them have different businesses, but the information security element of it is common across the board. You have to ensure that there's no compromise in terms of data and things like that. So
True.
when we looked at this candidate uh, profile, we found some people who were better than others, but we wanted somebody who is a cultural fit, someone who can recognize the differences of opinion, as well as the different departments have different security requirements. So somebody who can, and not, it's not like a one size fits all kind of a thing or so. So we wanted a person who could recognize the differences of the various departments and yet have individual, sort of plans for them, rather than saying one plan, follow it, kind of a thing or so. So we actually, according to us, we rejected some of the stronger profiles who were very technical but very narrow in their thinking, or supposedly we thought that they were very narrow in their thinking, and we picked up somebody who could make it, who could gel well with all the stakeholders and ensure that he gets his way through, he gets individual, these are all his individual clients. So he can sell his concepts and his tools and methodology and things like that. So that's how we in fact rate cultural fit at a senior to middle level much more than the actual knowledge element of it. See, I can teach somebody as to what happens in the organization. I can teach somebody in terms of what the skill set are, because I mean that's a given that if somebody is a if I'm hiring somebody for accounting, this thing, he must have the relevant degree and thing like that. But how do I ensure that he knows how to treat people well? How does he handle the clients well? How does he handle the various other stakeholders well? So that is something, it is difficult for me to kind of instill that kind of a behavior. A person is either rough to speak or good enough to speak, and so that's a very clear difference also. So what we try and do is that even if you have to compromise a little bit in terms of the knowledge element, because over the years we'll be able to teach that knowledge, but culturally that person must be a fit. Try and do this 360-degree evaluation. We look at the cultural fit of the person, and even if you have to compromise a little in terms of knowledge or skill, that I think we can, over the years we can train. But how to deal with people and humans and situations, I think that's the thing. So those are some of the things that we try and do. And one more thing which I would say, Now that the remote working or the hybrid working is accepted, I don't necessarily have to have geographical barriers. I can look at people in far off cities, provided they have all these qualities that I mentioned.
Thanks a bunch for sharing your knowledge, your expertise, opinion with us. And I'm sure it will help many people when they are looking for a change or when they are applying for a new organization in their career. Thank you for your thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.